So in this module, we're going to talk about facilitating group activities. It might be a small group activity where you divide a larger group into smaller teams, or it could be an activity for the entire group. Now, an important point to consider at the beginning is, why are group activities important? Well, there are a number of reasons. First is that it leads to enhanced learning and retention because it allows the participants to become more intimately involved in the content and not just sitting back as spectators, but participating in a conversation. It also leads to enhanced collaboration and teamwork because as the group works on a particular project, they will start to bond as a team. It encourages creative problem solving. I mean, one of the things you will find out, and you may have already experienced this, but I am frequently amazed by the solutions or answers to questions that are posed in small group work that maybe I would never have anticipated, but because of the creativity and the multiple minds at work here, frequently your small groups will come up with solutions that you hadn't considered that are interesting and add value to the course. It also leads to enhanced accountability on the part of the participants because oftentimes participants might be shy about sharing their ideas or their thoughts to an entire audience of 20, 30, 40, 50 people. Okay? But in a small group of 5, 8, 10, something like that, they're more likely to speak up and get their views out, and it will not only increase accountability but ownership on the outcome of the training. And then finally, it also boosts confidence on the part of the participants because, again, oftentimes participants are maybe shy or hesitant to speak up in a large group, but in a smaller group of 5 to 10, they're more likely to share their views. So what's the process for facilitating a group activity? The first and most important step is plan the activity out step by step by step. Make sure that you have thoroughly planned out each step of the activity. And once you've done that, write it out someplace where it is permanently displayed. Or maybe you're going to hand out a sheet of paper to each team with the steps on it. But it's important that the participants have a reference point to go back to, because if your activity has 5, 6, 7 steps in it that the participants need to complete, it's very easy for them to get off track. So once you've done that, thought through the steps, posted the steps prominently in the room or on a handout given to the groups, then explain the activity and what the purpose is and what the timing is of the activity so that the participants know what the expectations are for this particular activity and what the timing is. And then at this point, you can separate your larger group into smaller teams if you want. And the way I do that is typically I will, let's say I have 20 participants in an audience and I want 4 groups. So I'll have them count off by 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, until I get through 20. And then I'll move them around the room. So I'll say, okay, 1s, you move up over here. 2, go to the back of the room in the left corner, stage left. Group 3, go to the other side in the back. Group 4, up here in front. And then I have them move, which also adds some action to the training session and gets them out of their seats and out of their comfort zone a little bit. So now once I've done that and I have the groups working as a team, I will go around to each one of the groups and I will ask them to appoint a group leader. I want someone who's responsible in each one of the groups for the success of the group and responsible for that group staying on track. And personally, I always use a countdown timer. So I'll put a countdown timer up on the big screen. So if I have a 10-minute activity, then I'll put 10 minutes on the countdown timer. And do frequent time checks. So I'll announce, let's say after 3 minutes, I'll announce, okay, we've completed 3 minutes, we have 7 minutes remaining. And by this point, you should have completed steps 1 and 2 of the activity. And again, those are steps of the activity are posted on a whiteboard or flip chart or in their handout. Then, as the groups are working on their activity, circulate to each one of the groups and listen in. You want to listen for clarity or confusion about the activity, that they're making progress, that they're where they should be based on the amount of time that has elapsed up to this point. And also, I'm listening for myself to determine what the reporting order is going to be back to the large group. Because typically, we'll have divide teams into 4 teams, and each one will take a particular question or a particular topic, and then they'll report back to the entire group. And I want to make sure that the first team that reports back is one that has done an excellent job on their topic, because then that in turn will set the bar for the remainder of the participating groups. Now, I've made that mistake before where I didn't monitor closely. I had a team report back. They were disorganized. It didn't go well. And then it was hard to get the rest of the teams back on track, because maybe they were unclear about what the expectations were for the exercise, because they just heard an initial report that was off track. So I want to avoid that at all costs. I want to plan the reporting order and have a really strong team go first, again, because it sets the bar for the remaining teams to report back. And last, keep in mind, break activities are not a break time for the facilitator. That's when you should be doing some of your most important work in terms of monitoring the groups, making sure they're on track, answering any questions that they have, and as I mentioned, planning their reporting order back to the main group. Now next, we're going to do an activity and going to kind of walk through the steps as we talked about. And what I would like you to do in your small groups is to write out the steps in a hypothetical activity, and then practice facilitating the announcing and explanation of that activity to the other participants in your small group. And then at the end of that activity, I'll ask you to report back on what went well as you develop the steps of your hypothetical activity and what you could have done better to improve. And we'll take about 12 minutes to do this. I'll have the countdown timer up there. You can see that I have posted the steps of this particular activity on a couple of flip charts around the room so that you can refer back to that. Now, what questions do you have about this activity? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and break you into, I think we'll do 6 groups this time. So we'll count off by 6. Okay. 1's over here, 2's, 3's, 4, 5, and 6 is over here. Go ahead, and our time for the activity begins now.